And what that means is very, very quickly within the magnetic material, it has a certain magnetic moment direction, then electrons will be carrying current whose spin is oriented parallel to that magnetization. So within that magnetic material, the current is not carried equally by electrons with spin up and spin down, but rather it's carried much more often or more intensely by electrons with spin up. And so the current is mostly so-called spin polarized. And what's important then is if you have a magnetic structure on a thin film on the atomic scale with, say, a magnetic layer pointing in one direction and a second magnetic layer pointing in a different direction, and they're separated by some spacer layer that allows these moments to be oriented differently, then when you flow current into this sandwich of two magnetic layers separated by a spacer layer, then in one magnetic layer, for example, if it's pointing in this direction, electrons will flow with their spin in this direction. But let's say if the other magnetic layer is magnetized in the opposite direction, then in that layer, the electrons want their spin to be oriented in the opposite direction. So in a sandwich which is atomically thin, if the magnetic moments are oriented opposite to each other, then basically the electrons will always be scattered strongly in one or other of these layers because the layers will disfavor electrons of one spin orientation. But let's say now we rotate these moments so they're exactly in the same direction. Now electrons of one spin orientation can travel very, very easily through both layers and the resistance is lowered. So the spin valve works by virtue of controlling the flow of these spin polarized electrons. And when the magnetic moments then are parallel, electrons can flow easily, more current. When antiparallel, less easily, less current. And you get a change in resistance. This is called magnetoresistance.